Good afternoon, everybody. This is David Searns with Haley Marketing, and welcome to today's Lunch with Haley webinar. All right, so you're here to learn a little bit about messaging. I appreciate that you registered for the not so eloquently titled "Is Differentiation Bullshit?" But really, we're going to talk about the challenges of making your business stand out in a hyper-competitive industry like staffing. We're going to go through three really critical things to focus on in order to truly differentiate your company. And the one thing I had to put into this presentation before we even get rolling is a timeout, because when you title a presentation about differentiation being BS and you're a marketing professional, people will really question your sanity. So please don't take away my license to be a marketer. Let me get through this, and we will talk lots about how you can create differentiation, but probably not the way you're doing it today. All right, so Marketing School 101. It's not quite the first day of marketing class, but probably their second or third, they teach you about this thing called a USP. It's an acronym that stands for Unique Selling Proposition, which in plain English means what makes your company unique? What makes your company stand out from the competition? So I want you to think about this just for a second. Maybe you take out a scrap of paper, maybe jump in the question dialog box and type it in. What's the biggest thing that separates your company from all the other staffing companies in your market across the United States, across the world? Is it your experience? Maybe you've got really deep experience in a specific industry. Maybe it's your focus, the skill disciplines for which you recruit, the vertical markets in which you specialize. Maybe it's your geographic reach. Some companies have a very broad geographic reach. That's a differentiator. And some companies, it's very narrow. They're really focused on knowing a local market. How about service? How many of you thought, hey, what really makes us different is our service? Over the last 26 years, I cannot tell you the number of people who said verbatim, well, David, I know everybody tells you it's their service that makes them different, but ours really is. So that's a challenge if there's 21,000 staffing companies in the United States and a large majority of them are looking at some variation of the word service as their USP. How about being full service? We don't specialize in one thing. We can provide a range of staffing services, a range of skill disciplines, a range of roles or different methods of hiring that you can service. Maybe it's quality. I mean, that's why people come to you. You provide better talent. So it's the quality of the candidates you're able to recruit. How about technology? The last 2+ years, ever since COVID hit, have been about digital transformation. And everybody's been implementing new technologies, automation platforms, chatbots. Maybe it's your technology that separates you from everybody else. The challenge is, in that whole list, there's a lot of things that could be. And I would encourage everyone to sit down with your salespeople, sit down with your recruiters and brainstorm. The list I just gave you was a starting point. Brainstorm, what are all the aspects of our business that make us different? And then you want to refine that to something called key differentiators. So these are attributes about your company. An attribute is a characteristic about your business that separates you from everybody else, that is also highly valued by your target clients and or target candidates. So a differentiator is that attribute. A key differentiator is the attribute that is highly valued by the people you want to serve. You want to make a list of usually no more than 3 to 5 key differentiators. If you have more than that, your clients won't remember it, your candidates won't remember it, your employees won't remember it. So 3 to 5 is a good rule of what really separates us in terms of key differentiators. And then you want to think about your value proposition. Your value proposition is essentially taking a key differentiator, which is something about you, a trait, a characteristic, and flipping it on its head so that it's about the value you provide to your target audience, why it matters. How does your differentiator translate into measurable value for your target audience? Does your key differentiators reduce cost? Do they drive revenue? Do they solve a specific problem or problems? Do they somehow make life better for the people you're working with? You need to think about your differentiation in terms of the mindset of the people you want to serve. So in marketing world, they teach us to create personas, which is a nice way of saying a picture of the people we want to serve. What do they look like? What do they sound like? What do they think like? Who are they by demographics, age, income, location, gender? What makes up your ideal target audience? And I know in staffing, we can serve everybody, but some of those everybody's are better clients than other everybody's. And some of those everybody's are better candidates. You want to paint that picture. And then you want to study that audience, to get inside their head, to think about when it comes to hiring, when it comes to getting work done, when it comes to finding a job, what's the value you're providing because of those differentiators in your service? How are you doing something better, different, in a unique way to deliver value to your target audience? Now, as I said, sit down with your team, make a list of all your differentiators, think about the persona, the audience you want to reach, circle the ones on the list that are truly the key differentiators, flip them on their head to say, how do these differentiators drive value for our customers? And then you may end up throwing it all out. Now, I do think the exercise is extremely worthwhile, and I do think you should do it. And most companies listening today won't go do it. You'll already have an advantage just by analyzing that and thinking through what's our value and getting everybody in the organization to use those words. But on the screen here, you can see it says it's all crap. And the problem we have is if you end up saying the same things as your direct competitors, it will not create differentiation. If service is your biggest standout, if technology, if candidate quality, if expertise, if any of those things are your key differentiators, and your closest competitors say the exact same things, it's not going to stand out. That's where it becomes all crap. If I'm using the same points of differentiation as my nearest competitor to the buyer, to the candidate that I'm selling to, that I'm recruiting, they can't tell the difference between us. And in an industry as competitive as staffing, there's so few truly unique service attributes, company attributes that are unique. It's really, really, really hard to stand out. And when your customers, when those employers, when those job seekers don't see real differentiation, you become a commodity, and selling becomes about price or just about pay rates. I'm going to leave you because the person down the street's paying a nickel an hour more. We've all seen that. Maybe not a nickel, but it doesn't take a very large increase to lose a candidate. We've seen clients say they're going to use 3, 5, 10 different vendors because they can't differentiate. You've seen them go to systems like VMS and MSP programs because they can't differentiate the people they're working with. They don't see the value proposition of working with you over anybody else. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, because I'm not saying that there is no way to differentiate a staffing company. I didn't just spend, let's see, about 10 minutes talking about the challenges of differentiation to say, hey, we're done now, there's no way to do this. No, there is a way to create real differentiation in our industry. Very few companies do it, because real differentiation, it's not about what you do. It's not necessarily just about the characteristics of your business. It's truly about who you are. So let's talk about that. In staffing, that real differentiation comes from who you are at your core. And so I'm going to get you to think about 3 things. And as I put these next 3 things on the screen, I'm going to ask you, don't tune out, because you're going to say, David, this is like 101 stuff. What I'm about to put up is 101 stuff, but the execution of it is anything but 101. So the three most important things for creating differentiation are your company's mission, vision, and core values. This is about you. These are the three things that no other company can copy. They're not going to be the same between any two staffing businesses. And if they are well integrated into your sales, your recruiting, your delivery process, you will differentiate your company, especially if your mission, vision, and values resonate with your target audience. All right, so let's get into this. So step one, let's talk about mission. So put your hand up in the air if your company has a mission statement. Now, of course, I can't see you, but I'm going to assume everybody's got their hand up in the air. Every company has a mission statement. When we do strategic planning, when we do messaging consulting for our clients, that is one of our first questions. What is the mission of your organization? And I will tell you, better than 90% of the time, the mission statements of staffing companies are really weakly developed. So you may have seen this little bullseye before. This is not mine, this is Simon Sinek's. So if you're a fan of Simon Sinek, I reference him often because I'm a fan. You know, he talks about understanding your why. When someone asks you, what do you do? Most people will answer the question with what? Oh, I'm in the staffing industry. I help people find jobs. I help companies hire people. Now, every staffing company could say that. There's no differentiation amongst 21,000 companies in the United States on the what level, or very little. So a lot of companies will get into, well, here's how we do it. Here's our service process. It's different. And that can help separate you. But how isn't all that compelling, and it requires your customer, the employer, the job seeker to analyze a lot of detail that they don't really care about analyzing. So your service process may be highly unique, and it may be how you deliver value, but it's not a great differentiator because it doesn't capture people's attention. And what Simon Sinek says is you really need to understand your why. Why does your business exist? How you do it and what you do is to deliver that why, and that's the essence of mission. It's your reason for existing. Why did you start your company? What problem are you trying to solve? It is what you do. It's who you do it for. It's why you do it, all rolled into a statement. Now, the best mission statements are short and memorable. We'll see some examples in just a little bit. So to help figure out what your real mission is, ask yourself a few questions. Go back to day one of your organization. Or if you're not a founder, sit down with the founders and say, why was the company founded? Why did we get started? Was it because we were working for somebody else and we thought we can do this better? Well, that's not a really compelling mission. We want to think about, what problems are you able to solve better than anyone else in the world? Now here you'll probably want to be specific on the kinds of problems. If you're a fan of Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, he talks about thinking about where are you the best in the world? Now your world could be defined as the community you live in, if that's the only place you serve and that's where all your competitors are. It could be defined as an industry you serve, but in that industry, what major problems are you trying to solve? There may be other people trying to solve that problem, but now your company exists to solve that problem better than anyone else. Ask your team today, ask your recruiters, ask your salespeople, ask your customers. Where do they want you to be? Where do you want to be the best in the world? When we define ourselves as staffing, we define ourselves as recruiting, it doesn't differentiate in terms of a mission. When we define ourselves as our job is to put great people into great companies, I've seen that one many, many times. It doesn't differentiate. It's not specific. It's not a mission that is the quest for a holy grail. That's what you're trying to do, is have a mission statement that people can rally around. They want to join your cause to accomplish this mission. They get excited about what you're trying to do. And the best missions are specific. They're for a target audience. It could be a certain type of employer, could be a certain type of candidate. So many staffing companies, when they define a mission statement, will try to be every kind of employer and every kind of candidate. And the more broadly you try to define your mission, the harder it is to make that mission stand out. Now, you're going to see some examples of some very big companies in just a minute and how they have very broad missions. You can do that if you're a big company. But if you're a small to mid-sized business, you want to get really specific on who is the bullseye, the candidate, the client that you most want to reach. What problems are you solving for that audience because you know them better than anybody else in the world, and you've built your service model better than anybody else in the world. So your why, what, and how are perfectly aligned to provide the ideal solutions to that audience. That's your mission. You want your mission to be bold, to be inspiring, and ideally to address things and issues that are not being addressed by others in your industry. So let's take some examples. Now, I went outside staffing because some of the best examples of mission are companies that we know every day. I love TED's mission, 2 words, spread ideas. And if you've ever watched a TED Talk and you know how inspirational they are some of the best in the world at spreading ideas. They took a concept of getting people to present their 17 best minutes and turned it into amazing presentations and a global phenomenon around a 2-word mission. We're going to spread ideas. LinkedIn. We want to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. So it's the first part of the mission. Nobody else had really tried to build a network to connect all the professionals in the world. That everybody was 6 degrees of separation from one another, and LinkedIn could bring them together. Huge mission. They've been phenomenally successful. When Microsoft bought them, they were worth $26 billion. I don't know what the current valuation is of LinkedIn as part of the Microsoft portfolio, but that one mission of connecting professionals resulted in $26 billion in value. Tesla, it's not about cars. It's about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Elon Musk he sells cars, he makes rockets, does all kinds of other things. But his goal is to create a sustainable future for our planet. I think his goal is to colonize Mars. But the Tesla car company is about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. That's really different than we want to be the largest manufacturer of cars in the world, or we want to beat General Motors. That's part of the reason their valuation is so much greater than traditional car companies. Amazon, this is a long one. I don't really like long ones, but I can't really argue with Amazon's success. But look how bold this mission is, to be Earth's most consumer-centric company. Wow, that's a pretty big statement. Where customers can find and discover anything they might want to buy online, and endeavors to offer its customers the lowest possible prices. Now, Amazon was financially a flop for 20 plus years. And I remember, this is a personal story. I remember talking to my dad about Amazon in the early 2000s, and he was thinking, I don't understand why anyone would invest in their stock. This is a company that's never made a dime. They're losing obscene amounts of money. Well, Dad didn't see the opportunity of the long-range vision whereas Jeff Bezos realized, I'm pretty much taking over the world. I'm going to control the distribution of everything. Physical goods, knowledge, information, computer networks. Amazon did it. But they did it around a really compelling mission that was great for them to recruit investors and to recruit some of the world's best talent to work for them because of this powerful mission. And one, not a big company, but a very small company that hopefully you know if you're listening in today, ours. Our mission is to make world-class marketing easy and affordable for the staffing industry. So how about you? What's your mission that's bold, that's memorable, that excites people, that makes you stand out? Define your mission. Think about that holy grail. What is the quest that your business is trying to achieve, the summit you're trying to reach. You may never get there. The mission is something that you can always work towards, but it's something exciting. It gets people to want to be a part of what you're trying to do. What problems are you striving to solve for employers or job seekers? Could be both, but it may be stronger if you focus on one side or the other. How are you going to improve humanity with your services? One of the coolest things about being a part of the staffing industry is we help people with the most important thing in their lives, which is getting a paycheck. Now, some of you may question that and say, David, you know, that's really like a business guy focused view of the world, except for human beings. Part of our greatest sense of self-worth comes from contributing to our families, contributing to society, and that means having a job. As a staffing company, you have a more noble mission than most other businesses in the world. You are helping improve humanity with your services, but now gets more specific. For what audience? What problems are you solving for that audience? What is that holy grail that you're trying to accomplish that is different than your competitors? And I didn't put it in the presentation, but the other thing I would recommend is go to your competitors' websites, go to the About section of their website and see if they've listed their mission and see what it says. And then go look at yours and compare. And think about the persona of that target audience. Are you better positioned with your mission to serve that audience? All right, now let's give you a couple examples out of the staffing industry. So a little inspiration here. Here's a healthcare staffing industry. I just love this. Our mission is to improve the careers and lives of the healthcare professionals we place. 100% candidate focused. It's not just about a job. They exist to help healthcare professionals live a better life. Big, bold, noble mission. An IT staffing company. The process of IT staffing is driven by call volume and quantity of resume submissions. Our mission is to change the industry, to be more proactive, efficient, and measure success based on the most important metric, client satisfaction. They identified a very specific problem. They looked at that problem and said, we can fix it. And we're going to target companies that actually care about how happy they are with the candidates that are supplied, not how many resumes came in the door. A commercial staffing company. We're committed to helping individuals advance their lives through employment opportunities that provide good pay, safe work environments, strong benefits, and respect and compassion. They've identified their audience, they've identified what they're trying to do, and how they're doing it. I like shorter better because it's easier to be memorable, but even all three instances, you can see these companies, it's not just about we place people in jobs. We provide good candidates to quality employers. They got very specific about who they're working for and the value they're trying to bring to those audiences. So again, how about you? Final point on mission. Be really careful not to try to be all things to all people. That's a common mistake, is to go too broad. I've talked about it a couple of times, but a well-defined mission statement is also your positioning. It identifies the value you're providing or the audience for which you're providing that value. It says, here's our market, here's what we do, here's why we're different, here's why people should be interested in working with us. So the more tightly you can define your mission, the easier it is to differentiate around that mission. The broader you define it, the harder it will be, the more work it takes. The examples of those big companies I gave, those were kind of generic missions in terms of the audience, but not generic in terms of how big the goal was. Their holy grail was huge, but they had the money to back it up. A small to mid-sized company may not have as big a mission, but it will be a big mission for the audience they're trying to help. All right, step 2, vision. So here's my little monster, BHAG monster. So you may have heard of the acronym BHAG, BHAG, Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals. When we think about vision, it's really where we are going. It's about our future. And most commonly when people think of BHAGs, they set the goals for their business. They'll talk about company size. How big do we want to be? But that's not all it is. It can also be about where we're going to focus as we grow. What kind of geographic reach we want to have in our community around planet Earth. But company size, industry focus, our reach, that's really just the starting point to a compelling vision. I found this diagram in researching it, and it sort of said like the BHAG is the center of 3 concentric circles. It's the things that you care about. It's the things that you can be the best in the world at doing, and the things that drive your economic engine that you can get paid for delivering that value. When you put something you love doing together, something you're the best in the world and people will pay you for it, that's where you create the opportunity to have a BHAG. So in staffing, you may be deeply passionate about how you place people or the kinds of people you place or the companies you work with. You may be the best in the world at solving a problem like last minute fill-ins or solving a problem of like turnover or the challenge of hiring really good people. And you're doing it, you found a model that is very profitable for you and perceived to be very affordable by your client base. Now, I'm not going to get into building revenue models at all, but that economic engine piece is also another opportunity to create huge differentiation when you rethink how services and staffing get delivered. So for example, when VMS and MSP came in, that was a different model, a different economic engine to solve problems, and it allowed some companies to get very big, serving big staffing users. In recent years, the gig economy came in and said, we've got a different model. We're gonna focus on work by the task, not by the job. That's a different economic engine. So again, we could spend hours just talking about that green circle, but I want you to think about, what do we love doing as a company? Where can we truly be the best in the world? And how do we build the model that works for our clients and our candidates? That's how you can figure out where your BHAG lies. Now, if you want a really good way to think about vision, you see a book on screen right now from a guy named Cameron Herold. And I read the book multiple times because it's such a good roadmap for creating a vision. He talks about creating a 3-year vivid vision. And when I was learning about marketing strategy in graduate school, they talked about 5 and 10-year visions. And I always thought, I can't really see 5 or 10 years into the future. Too much changes. And we think back just a few years ago, it was pre-COVID. We couldn't see that coming. We couldn't see technology changes. So 3 to 5 years from today, we need to be thinking about where we'll be. And Cameron said, just stick with 3 years. Most of us can think about 3 years out. But now we get super specific about what 3 years out looks like. So start with the easy stuff. How big are we going to be? Revenue, geographic scope, number of offices, number of employees. Think about your service lines. Are they going to change in the next few years? Or are they going to stay the same? How about locations? Where you're located, where your clients are located, where your candidates are located, and these days, where your employees are located. Several years ago, we were 100% sitting in our offices in Buffalo, New York. Well, today, there's, let's see, 4 people sitting in our offices in Buffalo, New York, and 60 plus others sitting in various locations throughout the United States and around the world. Our vision changed. Yours can too, of how you get the work done and where you can serve people. A lot of you may today focus on local markets, but with the advent of remote as a common means of hiring for so many companies, you may be completely changing where your clients will be located, where your candidates will be located. How about the types of clients you serve? Will that change in the next 3 years? The unique value that you will provide as you get better at delivering on your mission, as you work towards finding your holy grail. Is your value going to get better in the next 3 years? If so, how? Define it. How about your company structure? Will that change? And technology. Have you already put in new technologies? Will you be putting in new technologies? What's it going to look like 3 years from now? What will you be using, and how are you going to get those technologies? Are you going to buy them? Are you going to build them? Are you going to partner with somebody? How about your company culture? Is that going to change in the next 3 years? Will it get better in some way? Will it stay the same? And what's the specific path that's going to get you from where you are today to where you are a few years from now. And the idea behind Cameron's book is you try to create a vision. A vision isn't a sentence, it's this picture, this really clear picture of what the future looks like. So to help you develop your 3-year vision, pick a date 3 years from now. Maybe it's literally 3 years from today. Maybe it's 3 years from the end of this year. So you're going to pick the December 31st, 2025. And then imagine yourself, close your eyes and picture yourself on that day looking backwards and ask yourself questions. What did we achieve in the past 3 years? What changed in our company and in our industry, and how did we deal with those changes? What paths did we take to get from where we were 3 years ago to where we are today? It's sort of silly to forecast backwards from the future, but it can be very powerful because when you go to the future and you look backwards, it's freeing. When you start with today and you look forward, you tend to think about incremental changes over where we are today. When you start 3 years out, you can think much bigger. You can set a bolder vision. So a vision, again, it's not a sentence. It's a roadmap for the future state of your business that you end up sharing with your own company leadership, your investors, your internal team, even your clients and suppliers. So if you want an example of this, I'm a huge fan of a guy named Robert Glazer, and his company is called Acceleration Partners, and he makes his vivid vision publicly available on his website. So he wrote his last one in 2021, and you can see it's titled 2024 because he did it as of the end of 2024, looking backwards. You can download this PDF. Now, if you don't want to type down that whole URL because it's kind of long, just go to accelerationpartners.com or Google search Accelerator Partners Vivid Vision. You'll come up with this PDF. Take it and download it. He projected in this document, talks about becoming a $100 million company. Today, he's nowhere near a $100 million company, but he thought big. And he created a really compelling vision of the future that to everybody who works for him, to all the companies that work with him, they're going to read this and go, wow, this is the kind of company I want to be part of. I want to work with. So when you put these two things together, hopefully you're starting to see how this is real differentiation. Your mission is what we're trying to achieve in the world. Our vision, it's how we're going to get there. This combination can create an irresistibly powerful message to help you recruit talent in your organization, to make temporary associates want to work with you, and even employers to look at it and go, I really like where this company is going. 3 years from now, they're going to be my best vendor. It's not about what they do today to fill job orders. It's about where their company's growing. I want to be associated with a company like that. I love where they're taking their business. They can take our business to a new point. Your mission is the dream, the holy grail. Your vision is the concrete steps, the plan to get there, that once you've locked it into your brain, you will find a way to achieve. And that's what Cameron Herold's book was all about. Cameron actually built multiple back-to-back $100 million businesses using this process of setting a 3-year vivid vision. All right, bring it home with core values. So probably everybody listening in has some form of core values. They're what you stand for. They're your proverbial lines in the sand, that if we have core values, these are things we do not compromise on. We don't cross that line. They define our standards of performance. They define our methods of operation. They're our company's rules for business. If somebody in an organization isn't living by these rules, they should be kicked out. They really are the foundation of your company culture. And so many people listening today are going to talk about how great the culture is inside their business. Well, that's a competitive advantage. That's a key differentiator. If it's something you live, not just with your people, but in how you deliver your service, is if your values permeate your day-to-day operations. So many times we see honesty, integrity, hard work as the primary 3 core values of staffing and recruiting companies. Okay, but it's kind of meh. They don't differentiate. They're basically table stakes. I mean, who wants to work with a company that didn't have those 3 values, that didn't work hard, that didn't have strong integrity, that wasn't honest. I mean, nobody would want to work with a company like that. They don't stand out. Really good core values define how you operate. They're basically your company's behavioral traits. You use them to hire. Do the people we're hiring, have they demonstrated these values in all of their past roles, even before they got into the working world? You know, when they were in college and high school, and when we interview people, we start in middle school. Traits are something that people tend to stick with over long periods of time, and we can analyze those traits to see if they match the values of our organization. You should be hiring by your core values. They're the standards against which you measure performance. So when you do annual reviews, or if you're like we do, you use a process called EOS and use quarterly 555 reviews, you are looking at saying, are people living the values? I'll show you more about that in just a second. These are the actions you celebrate. You should be celebrating when people live the core values. They should be recognized publicly. They should be rewarded, because these are the most important things people are doing, is they're living your values to deliver your mission, to realize your vision every single day. Yeah, and when someone violates these rules, these lines in the sand, when they cross the line, they should be grounds for termination, or at least a performance improvement plan. So I mentioned EOS. In EOS, they do this thing called a people analyzer. And you literally look at the people in your organization, and you can see the picture here. You can see the names of the people, Sally, John, and George. And then this company has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 core values. And each person gets a plus, a minus, or a plus minus. What does a plus mean? Plus means that person, Sally, is living that value most of the time. Doesn't have to be 100%. No one's perfect, but most of the time Sally's hitting it. John's not doing so well. The minus means the majority of the time, more than half the time, John is not living the company's core values. And a plus minus is, yeah, they're generally doing it, but we've got cause for concern because they're not doing it consistently enough. And you see the one that says the bar. These are your standards of performance. So the bar, plus minus, must have in humbly confident. If they're not that or above, it's performance improvement plan. So for each of the core values, there is a grade of plus, plus minus, minus, and then your company has a bar. You're looking to that. And the final few columns, I apologize, I said 8 core values. That's because I'm wearing glasses and the print's too small. The last 3 says get it, want it, capacity to do it. I won't cover that. That's a different part of EOS. So this company has 5 core values. But in your business, you can look at these values you have and figure out, are our people living it every day? And the people who are not, we have to talk to them about it. We need to get them to improve. If they do not improve, they should not be part of the organization. This is how people show up for work. Are they showing up living the values? If not, they're the wrong people for your business. So a little inspiration, company that I just absolutely love. They do amazing things based out of Seattle, Washington, Terra Staffing Group. And if you go to their website, they list 3 core values. We find a way, we are accountable, we choose to learn and grow. They took these core values. Now, each one of those headlines has a defining sentence or paragraph after it, so people really understand what they mean. I'm not going to cover all the details. You can visit their website to see it. They made artwork out of it that they put up in every office to reinforce this is how we live. They talk about these, they manage to these, they hire to these, and they fire against these. They live these values. This is one of the reasons that this organization has been phenomenally successful. They also have an incredibly strong mission and vision to go along with it. You put all the pieces together and it's real differentiation. You know, in our own business, we set 6 core values, and the same, very similar to Terra Staffing. We try to live by these 6 things. We know the headlines. Everybody here knows the headlines inside and out, but for every headline, there's a definition of what it means. We have a culture deck that explains these. You can go to our website and you can read about these values and what they mean. And then we talk about internally all the time how people are living them. And I'm not just doing this to brag about Haley Marketing, but more to just give you an example, because the company I know best is how we live it. We figured out what was important. We build it into hiring. We build it into reviews. We build it into how we talk about ourselves. We build it in how we talk to our customers, and we hold people accountable. So bringing it home. No, differentiation is definitely not bullshit. It's not what you do or how you do it that makes you different. It's who you are. You are what truly makes your business unique. Your service process, anything you create as a process, your competitors can copy your process. They can purchase the same technology. Probably lots of them have the same ATS, the same automation platforms. They're reading from some of the same automation playbooks. They're buying the same chatbots. They're buying the same mobile apps. Your sales and recruiting methods are probably pretty similar. There's not radically different ways to reach out to HR, reach out to hiring managers, reach out to frontline supervisors, and introduce staffing companies. So the methods we're using to sell, the methods we're using to recruit are all going to be very same. And those first three things there are a recipe for a highly commoditized industry. But nobody can copy your purpose for being, your holy grail, where your quest, your mission, what you're trying to bring to the world, the problem you solve. Nobody can copy your path for getting there. Your organization will see the steps to getting to your 3-year vision differently than every other staffing company. The more clearly you define it for the people you want to reach, the employers, the job seekers, the internal talent, the more clearly you define that vision, the better, because that makes people get excited about wanting to work with you, to join on as you work to achieve that mission. And the way you actually get people to show up every day, those core values. Because if you're showing up in a way that's better and different than your competition every single day, and every single person in your organization is showing up that way, you are creating a kind of differentiation that no competitor can match. You are actually truly separating your company because nobody else has this MVV, mission, vision, values. You want to make sure that you have defined them. Go look at your website. Are they there today? Are they clear? Are they distinct? Do they really stand out? Are they bold? Are they compelling? If not, take some time to put some work into it. Now, if you like the presentation, of course, we record them. You can also download the ebook that goes with this. So our ebook is at haleymarketing.com/brainfuel. There's a kind of a companion. It's not just about mission, vision, values, but there's a companion workbook. That's our strategy workbook. You can download that as well. That's literally a fill in the blanks workbook that will take you from figuring out your mission, vision, values right through creating your marketing strategy. And you can get those both at that haleymarketing.com/brainfuel webpage. All right, well, that brings us to the end. A little early today. It was a shorter topic, but if there are questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm going to stay on the line here talking as long as there are questions coming in. If you need bigger picture help with messaging, with your overall marketing strategy, don't be shy, reach out. We are always happy to share ideas. And if the ideas lead to us being able to help you with service, all the better. Couple of very related things. We got a lot of companies right now. Indeed just had a big change in how they do things this week. It's probably impacting your results on Indeed advertising. And if you want to know how to get more from your job ads, you really should talk to our job advertising, our recruitment marketing team. They can show you in about a 30-minute call how you can save as much as 30% on the cost of your applies. You can also learn more about job advertising by going to our recruitmentmarketers.com website, and there's a /programmatic 101 webpage that will teach you a lot about how to manage job advertising better. And last but not least, we have a big event coming up in just over a month. A lot of you may recall last summer was our 25th birthday in the staffing industry, and we had this event called the Smart Ideas Summit. Well, we got such phenomenal feedback that we decided to do it again. It is a 7-hour-long webinar. Every 30 minutes, we have a new speaker. We have an amazing lineup of guest speakers this year, absolutely amazing. Some of the leading names in consulting to the staffing. We have a best-selling author. We have people to talk about sales, operations, recruiting, and we've got a lot of people on our team who's going to be talking about the application of marketing to solving staffing challenges. You can learn all about what we're doing, the agenda, the speakers at haleymarketing.com/smart ideas 2. Sign up. Seats are limited. We have barely announced it, and we're already 20% of the way to being sold out. So please jump in quickly, grab a seat before they go. And while you're grabbing a seat, we have another webinar before that coming up in the middle of August. And we're going to be looking at staffing websites, because one of the things we're seeing is too many people that you're spending a lot of time and effort to get to your website, that you're spending tens of thousands of dollars to recruit. They go visit your website and they never take action. So we're going to talk about how to double the performance of your website on Thursday, August the 18th. All right, I'm going to go back one slide so you can get that URL for the Smart Ideas Summit. From everybody here at Haley Marketing, guys, thank you so much for being part of today's webinar. I hope you enjoyed the talk on mission, vision, values, and I hope it helps you create even greater differentiation for your company. Thank you so much.